Hi, this is Chris Blake here. Dan Hall and I go to Uganda every year, and we volunteer for the Uganda Rural Fund. We try to identify some problems and come back here and do something about them. This is one of them. It's a paraffin lamp. It's full of kerosene. It's open. It's meant to help kids study at home at night, and it's dangerous. Second problem. Empty library shelves where there ought to be books, and there ought to be textbooks for the children who attend Hope Academy. URF is serving orphans along the AIDS highway that runs from Kampala to Rwanda. More than 50% of the people that live along that highway are children under the age of 15. That's mostly thanks to the AIDS epidemic. This is a tough life. This young guy's 15 and heads a child-led household. He doesn't go to school, so the others can. That's his kitchen. These kids drink water that can make them deathly ill. They spend sometimes 2 or 3 trips a day of several miles hauling water for themselves and others, for money, for food, for clothing. And they dig. Dig, in this case, it refers to subsistence farming, to grow just enough food to eat, with perhaps some money left over. The way out of this, obviously, is education, and every kid in the area dreams of going to Hope Academy to maybe get on with a life of non-poverty. Hope started with outreach, then had enough money to build a building, where 165 kids go now, and work with an intensity that's somewhat unimaginable in the West to us. But they know that education is the only way out of the cycle of poverty that's had their generations trapped, and so they work accordingly. Looming over the education the kids get at Hope, and key to their entire future, are the O-level exams. These are national exams in Uganda, taken at the end of S4, which is the 4th year at Hope. Passing on to S5 and 6 can only happen if they pass these exams. These exams are written for secondary level students in urban areas such as Kampala, where over 40% of the Ugandan people live. But Hope students obviously don't live in Kampala. They live in an area in which electricity is rare, if at all, and they must study at night by the light of paraffin lamps. These are smelly, they're dangerous to breathe, they're inefficient. They come, or they get loaded into these small hand lamps. A supply of paraffin to fit one of these for 2 days is worth more than food. There it is in a Coke bottle. But the kids use it, they breathe the fumes, they put up with the smarting eyes, and most of all, they go through the danger that young children anywhere would have in handling an open flame with kerosene. It's horrible to see the results at times. So Dan and I want to raise the money to purchase for each student a small solar lamp. These give a bright light. They're one piece. They'll shine for 3 or 4 hours at night on one day's daylight. Doesn't need sunlight. The light is clean, it's larger, and it's easy to study by. So Shafiq, you know that Mr. Dan and I are going to try to go home and get money for solar lamps, yeah? Driven by the sun?
Yeah. I have had some information about it, and we are all at school and we had headmaster talking about it.
Yes.
And every student was so happy because now, these days, fuel are getting expensive. And even at home, our parents, they can't allow us to burn the fuel during night while we are revising.
On the subject of those empty shelves with no books at Hope Academy, keep in mind that the O-level exams cover 10 subject areas and expect learning in depth. Kampala kids come from schools there that are well stocked with supplies such as books. The campuses are up to date. And of course, every student has a book to read in every course that student takes. There is other learning in the class that is integrated with that. And so these kids get a chance to write papers that compare and emphasize comparative thought and analysis. And those are the expectations that are brought to the O-level exams. So when the Hope kids get into those exams with the background of having had no books to study, they're at a distinct disadvantage. These are all the business books at Hope, all the periodicals. That's everything on biology at Hope, chemistry, everything on geography, old manuals is the computer studies library, social studies and geography and world history, and all the books on math. Hillary is a Kampala-educated secondary student who now volunteers at Hope. These are his thoughts about not having books to study for the exams.
Try to imagine, I don't know if you can do this, but how do you think a student, what sort of chance would a student have with the O-level exams at the end of S4, yes? If they had not had many books to study, compared to you?
Well, it would be pretty tough, I can tell you that it can be pretty tough. Because it was tough for me and I had all the books, right? So imagine if a student have books,
yes,
it would be really tough for them. They'll need a lot of luck. And
yes.
I don't mean any malice, but
no?
they'll need a lot of luck, actually.
Yes, all right. That would be almost impossible.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It would be really tough for them.
Yeah.
Really tough.
All right.
It's not that the students don't study material, they study books of their own making. They copy down word for word in copybooks the words read by teachers.
In the handwriting of the students, and they pass it to each other as a kind of a textbook. This is very...
Copybooks produce a number of disadvantages for these kids. At a subtle level, it takes such time for them that they don't really develop the time or opportunity to think.
Teach history, yes?
Yes, I do.
How many books do you now use in history? How do you use books in teaching history?
The situation is we actually have, I think, 3 copies in the whole school of history. So they are mine. So I have to make notes and then give the notes to the students. And then they read that, cram that, and at the end of the day write for me a paper.
Wow.
But with a textbook, they would be able to read more in the textbook and then think for themselves, and at the end of it write something which is more than what I've given them. Because my notes limit them to my thinking, so they don't think for themselves. It's me who thinks for them, and they have to remember what I gave them.
Absolutely.
So that's what you see, classes of this size hanging on every read word, copying it down laboriously, which points at another problem. When it's time to study for the O-levels or any test, how many books are there to study? This is Issa and several of his friends, 10 of them actually looking at one book to get ready for the O-levels. This is Florence here. You can hear the pride in her voice because she has furrowed out a good math review book from the library.
Have you got one? Do you have a book with you?
Yeah, I have a book for mathematics.
Let me see.
This one.
Oh, okay. Hang on here. We'll take a look at it. Okay, good. Where did you get it?
I got it from the library.
How many copies are there in the library?
1 copy.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you get the book?
This is Issa preparing for the O-level exams in biology. He wants to be a doctor.
if you don't pass these exams, you can't go on.
Yeah, you can.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
And that's studying for the test, eh?
yeah.
When you studied biology this year, did you have a book to use?
Personally, I don't have a book,
Yeah.
but I do get some books like from the library,
Yes?
and I use it. But like this kind of book, like very practical.
Yeah, very good, eh?
Yeah, there is only one book.
There's only one?
Yeah, like this one is only one book.
How many people would like to see that?
Dan and I are clear and have been for a number of years on how unworkable this is. Hardest working students in the Western world, and yet they're 10 paces in back of their counterparts. We asked the staff what they needed to do a minimal job of educating these kids and preparing them for their O levels. Would they give us a list? And they did. It's got English texts, math texts, history, geography, physics, biology, chemistry, and other subject areas, plus primary texts to tutor primary school kids that come after school, and books for the community. So text and reference books comes to about $13,600. It's about as simple as this. What are we doing when we get these kids a chance to be in a race and then tell them that they've got to start about a quarter of a mile behind? With the character they've got, they don't mind. Frankly, they don't see the problem. But it's obvious to us. It's obvious to Hillary.
They'll need a lot of luck, and
Yes.
I don't mean any malice, but
No?
they'll need a lot of luck actually.
Yes. All right.
Well, they may be out of luck and they may not be out of luck. Some of that may be up to us. Text and library books, $13,600. Solar lamps to read them by, $3,000. Rounded out to $17,000, and the job will be done. Those of you who would like to contribute can send checks to Uganda Rural Fund, Post Office Box 388, West Springfield, Mass. 01090. There are many who are overseas, and if it's easier for you and for those others who might want to contribute this way, just go to the website, ugandaruralfund.org, and click the PayPal option. So it's about books, and it's about lamps, and it's about children with the hearts of lions and the dreams that are just the same as all of ours. It's about URF that truly does the work of angels. And it's about us, you and me, and what we want to do to help. What we want to do to give kids a chance to have a chance. Thank you for listening very much and watching. Have a good life and take care.